Fighting for Faith and Nation, Dialogues with Sikh Militants, by Cynthia Kepply Mahmood. One man reports. After I met Sant Bindranwala, my son asked me, how many weapons did Sant Ji have, what kind of weapons did he have? I said that the weapons of Sant Bindranwala, nobody has weapons like those in all the world. The way the devotion and commitment to Sant Bindranwala came, that was some kind of mystery, some kind of mystic inspiration. There used to be baptism ceremonies at least twice a month, later more often as Sant Ji became more popular. Sometimes thousands of people would get baptized in a single day. Sant Ji's impact was so powerful, people would rush forward not only to get baptized but to join him, to give up their homes and their families to stay with him. He was a great lover of humanity, sensitive to the downtrodden. And he was a very disciplined man, spending hours and hours with the scriptures even in his busy schedule. He expected the same devotion from everybody who joined him. We follow in the footsteps of Baba Deep Singh, he would say, heads in our palms. Such an inspiration he gave, will never be forgotten. Anybody who saw him was touched by him. Childhood memories. My uncle Sukhdev Singh Babar, founder of the Babar Khalsa, took Amrit in 1977. After a year, there was the Nirankari episode, but I was just a small girl then. I remember how my father and everybody left when they heard what was going on, and when they came back home some of them had been shot, and blood was coming out of their bodies. It was terrible. I still have some vivid pictures in my mind from that time. One Sikh was shot on the shoulders and I can still see the blood soaked through his shirt. I later heard how my dad and uncle and others didn't have any guns with them, that they borrowed wooden sticks from a shopkeeper and tried to fight the Nirankaris with those. One of the Singhs was killed there, by Forger Singh. He was a dear friend of my uncle's, and after he got killed, it was real hard for my uncle to sit around and do nothing. There was another Singh killed, by Rakbir Singh, and his wife was a real nice person. She told us how nobody she knew was doing anything about her husband's death. So my uncle told her that he was her brother too, and that he would do something about it. My dad's brother used to go to my uncle's room and he told us that he saw him making arrowheads, sitting there by himself. He wondered whether something was up with my uncle. Within 2 or 3 months, it seemed he was never home. We later learned that they had established camps, where the Singhs could get training in swords and guns. One day they all came over to my house and they said, let's go for rehearsal. They made a statue of Indira Gandhi and stuck it on a tree, and all the Singhs stood in line and shot arrows at her. They were making comments like, she's going to get killed, we will get her, and things like that. That was in 1981 or 1982, I think. I was around 10 years old. My uncle was a really nice person, really friendly. Like one day he had a fight with some people, and after he became a Babar, and went to live at Darbar Sahib as Jathedar, the people he had fought with came to apologize. It's okay, he told them. That was before I had taken Amrit. I don't hold a grudge now. My uncle was not a violent person at all. It was the circumstances that made him do what he did. As a child I witnessed some Singhs getting killed myself. But we are taught that it's okay to die if you die with pride. So I didn't feel scared or anything. I was proud of them. Police were harassing everybody by the early 1980s. They took all my relatives to jail at one time or another, even my blind uncle. My father then decided that rather than sit around and wait to be picked up, he would join my uncle at Darbar Sahib. We would then go to visit the two of them there during our vacations. I still have these times in my mind. I can't describe how wonderful it was there. It was the best thing I ever saw in my life. How the Singhs were living together, how they knew so much, and how dedicated they were. They would wake up early in the morning and do Nam Simran, then go to the temple and listen to Kirtan. The whole year we waited for vacations so that we could go to see them there. On the last day of the vacation, we wouldn't get any sleep, because we wanted to spend as much time there as we could. We used to live basically in hiding because of my father and my uncle. We stayed inside all the time and didn't go out into the open. Then neighbors would start saying, "Who are they? Why don't those children go outside?" This sort of thing. Then we would move somewhere else. I knew all the Singhs who were active at that time. They treated me as a daughter or a younger sister. Whenever a Singh would get killed, we would all feel sad for a few days. But sometimes I would see them in my dreams. Sometimes I still see them in my dreams. They were people we could always count on, for anything. We could always trust the Singhs. In June 1984, I was at my cousin's marriage when we heard the news, that the Darbar Sahib had been attacked. My brothers were there and my uncle's sons were also there, but all the ladies, my mom, my aunts, and all, were all at the wedding. But we decided it would be better if we left right away. When we went to the bus, some of the people at the wedding tried to stop us, saying that there was fighting going on in Amritsar, and that if we went we might get killed. But we left anyway. We went straight to Amritsar. We were all feeling happy at that time that if we were going to die, we would all die together. Early the next morning at 4 o'clock when the shooting started again, everyone became alert. The Singhs asked the ladies to gather up all the kids, and while we did this, they went on with their fighting. We saw one Singh, a very good person, get killed. But it was hard to tell exactly what was happening. There was a lot of noise, a lot of gunfire. On June 4, the Singhs told us to leave the building and to go to safer places nearby. But none of the women wanted to leave. They said that if the Singhs were going to die, then they wanted to die too. At that point my uncle Sukhdev Singh came to the women, and he said that we really had to leave. He explained that if the army was going to grab us and dishonor us in front of them, it would be real hard for the Singhs to stand it. That they might be made to speak like that. So to avoid that circumstance, Sukhdev Singh told us we had better leave. Eventually, we did. We stayed in a house nearby for 2 days. There was no water in that building and nothing to cook either. All the women did gather together and made prasad, unleavened bread, for the Singhs who were fighting. 1 or 2 of the Singhs would come and get it, and somehow take it in packs on their backs, to where the other Singhs were fighting. They knew the Darbar Sahib inside and out. At night it was real dark because there was a curfew in Amritsar. But we could see the bombs going off at the Darbar Sahib. It was very colorful and noisy, and no one could sleep at all. We were wondering what was happening to the Singhs, how they were faring inside the complex. On June 6 most of the Singhs left the Darbar Sahib. My uncle apparently didn't want to go, but then 5 Singhs came before him, Panj Prs, and said they were ordering him to leave. We need people to organize the struggle after this, they told him. If all of us die here, it won't accomplish anything. So he left by a back route. That day we were told to come out of the house where we were staying. It was hard for us kids, because we were wearing our kirpans underneath our clothes, and holding our hands up in the air. One of my uncle's kids was only 2.5 years old at the time, and he got kind of permanently shocked by that experience. When all the people came out of the Darbar Sahib, nobody was wearing shoes. Everybody was barefooted, and people who were watching them started giving them shoes. I just remember all those people with bare feet, and all the people passing shoes to them from the streets. We then stayed in my cousin's house for about 2 weeks, surviving on only flour, which we made into bread, and salt. We were worried because 10 members of the family had been inside Darbar Sahib, and we couldn't hear any news about them. After the curfew was relaxed, we all piled onto a rickshaw, and made for a village we knew. We stayed there some time before we went home. It was like a celebration there when the people saw us return safely. Then the police started coming to our home. They knew that many Babars had escaped, and they wanted to know where they had gone. But we didn't know. We were being harassed in various ways and eventually we decided to leave that place. We hid in Amritsar for 5 or 6 years after that, but nobody knew where we had gone, not even my grandparents. I couldn't talk to anybody else about my situation, no girlfriends or anything like that. Nobody knew I was the daughter of Mehel Singh, currently a major figure in the Babar Khalsa force. There was one girl, a Hindu, who became a good friend of mine, and she was always saying that she didn't like the Singhs who were fighting. She thought this way because that's what they teach the Hindus, that the Singhs are bad and scary people. I kept it a secret that my own family were among the top Singhs in the movement. At one point the police heard from somebody that we were in Amritsar, and they started bothering another family there by the name of Mehel Singh, my father's name. But they had the wrong Mehel Singh. Then one day we suddenly found our house surrounded, with police on all the rooftops around us. Everything was searched, even my school books, page by page. But they didn't find anything to incriminate us. Things had become quite dicey for us, so the Singhs found a way for me to get out of India. 2 days after I left, my mother was picked up by the police along with my aunt, and they were taken to the torture center in Bartala. They were heavily beaten, and the worst humiliation was that the police chief there made my mother drink his urine. He taunted her that it was Amrit. Finally my mother was released from there and got admitted to a hospital. I never saw her after that, but she wrote me a letter. She said, "Don't worry about me, girl, you be courageous, and you face whatever is in store for you in that new land." My uncle was killed by the police. And the police then picked up my brother from his college and tortured him and his friend. They got electric shocks, which permanently affected them. They are now hiding here and there, from place to place. They hadn't done anything, as they were quite young. It would be better if they would do something to fight back, rather than just getting tortured and killed for no reason. Some of my uncles arranged a marriage for me, but otherwise I am entirely alone here. Now I have a son, who was born here. I'm planning to tell him all the things I have gone through, and explain what our family has done. One day I asked my husband if we should ask our son to go over there and fight when he grows up. My father-in-law was sitting there and he said, "Wait till he grows up. That will be too late. Why not send him now, so that he can learn all the things he needs to do? But I think that if he is educated, then he can fight in a more sophisticated way. He should get educated first, then think about the best way to fight." Maybe now that Hindu girl has seen my family's pictures in the paper and all, and maybe now she realizes that the Singhs are just ordinary people. Not some kind of devils.